damn, I am back from my trip. Oh my God, I had such an amazing time in South Africa. Oh, absolutely incredible. I have a ton of video that I'm in the process of editing about the trip or along the trip. I'll be dropping those videos starting right after Christmas. But in the meantime, I thought I'll go ahead and drop the review video I did on that little sport glide that I rented and rode all over the place. It was a good little bike. Did me well on the journey, but the minute I got on this bike and started rolling, I'm like, yeah, baby, I'm home. I love this motorcycle. There ain't nothing like this Road Glide Special. Anyway, enjoy the review, and then I'll catch you up on the trip starting right after Christmas. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Peace. So, today is my last day riding in South Africa. I am absolutely going to miss this. I'm heading down to Betty's Bay. This was not anything that was on my list to ride. I was actually going to go to Fonschuk, or however you say it. But when I was stopped to get petrol yesterday, a gentleman came up and started asking me about the bike, and turns out he and his wife ride. We just started talking motorcycle stuff, and he asked me what I did and what I'd already ridden, how many more days I was here, and he told me a couple of places to go on my last day. But he said if you've only got one day, you should go to Betty's Bay. It's supposed to be really beautiful. And I did a little research, and as it turns out, there are 2 native colonies of penguins in Africa. Now, I saw one with my colleagues up in the Cape Town area last week. The other one is at Betty's Bay. So we're going to go down and check this out, look at the scenery. And after this, I will be able to say that on this trip, I rode to the southern tip of Africa, where the Indian and Atlantic Oceans meet, and that I have seen all the penguins that live in Africa. That's crazy. Penguins in Africa, who would have thought? But I thought, this is the last day. I wanted to give a kind of a review or share my thoughts about this lovely sport glide that has taken me on many adventures this past week. First off, let me say I am super grateful for this motorcycle. Getting on a bike and getting out, this has allowed me to see things that I never would have seen, to have really cool experiences. It's been a great adventure, and I owe that all to this lovely little sport glide. Now, this was not the bike that I wanted. It was not. Let me get that out of the way. I wanted something lighter than a road or a street glide, because I'm in an urban area. You've never ridden in Cape Town. It's really hilly, windy streets. Plus, I'm riding on the wrong side of the road, or maybe it's the right side of the road. I don't know. But I didn't want to deal with the weight. I wanted a small bike that was light, and Sport Glide is certainly a small bike, and it's certainly light. And that was a smart decision. But my first choice was going to be a Heritage. I had one lined up, I thought. It was 114. We'll talk more about the engine in a bit, because this engine is the 107. But I wanted that because I knew I was going to be crushing a lot of miles in a short amount of time, and the Heritage is a super comfortable bike. It really is the touring bike for the Softail, not sport touring, but touring. But that fell through, and I had a hard time finding a cruiser. Fortunately, GS Africa had a sport glide, this one, that they hooked me up with, and I thought, you know what, that's good. I'll take that in a heartbeat. So overall, it's been a really good experience. I like the bike. You know, the best thing about the bike is probably the styling. It's a beautiful design, it's a beautiful bike, and I know that because everybody and their brothers have been coming up to me and going, hey, that's a beautiful bike that you have there. And of course, most of them say, oh my God, that front wheel is incredible. And it is. I mean, the Mantis wheel on the front of this bike is the signature design element, I think, for the Sport Glide. Now, I'd never ridden one until this trip. So I approached this with a really open mind, even on the bags. I try to push my feeling about those clam bags out of the way. But we'll get to that in a second. Now, I was really fortunate because GS Africa hooked me up with a windshield. And that was one thing I was a little concerned about, because that little bikini piece of crap that they put on the stock Sport Glide wasn't going to give me any wind protection. This has done a pretty good job. I mean, I would like for it to be maybe an inch higher, but it's done a really good job. And that's something to say, because here in South Africa, the winds are no friggin' joke. I mean, this is where all the hurricanes come from, right? I mean, the winds are no joke when the winds are rolling. But this has done a really good job. Wind management hasn't been an issue. I love the fact that it has cruise control. That's come in handy quite a bit. Because like I said, I've been crushing a lot of miles, and I've been able to not have my throttle hand get sore because I can just put that on cruise. Yeah, I mean, what can you say? I don't know if this is the stock seat, but the seat's been okay. The exhaust is not stock. It's got those street sweepers. I don't believe they've done a full stage 1, because this looks like maybe the stock or some type of restricted. They're not full airflow breather on it. It's been, let's talk about the 107. So I think anybody that tells you that there's not much difference between a 107 and a 114 probably either bought a 107 or they've never ridden a bike with a 107 in the changing conditions that I've been riding it in here. Now, I've had two 114s, and I'm, thinking strictly about those two bikes, the Fat Bob, and then, of course, my Road Glide, before I did all the work on the exhaust and the engine, and comparing it to this 107. The 107 doesn't have as much oomph as the 114. I know they look very similar on paper, but I know when I bought my Fat Bob, I had the choice, because that year they were doing a 107 and a 114, and I went for the 114, and I'm really glad I did, because there absolutely, it is a difference. There's been points in the riding here, especially up through the mountains, where this little bike has struggled a little bit. There's no lie. But yeah, overall, it's a good bike. It's not, to me, and if you own a Sport Glide, close your ears. It's not for me, it's not a bike that that's exciting. It's just a good bike. It'll get you from point A to point B. It does feel a little cramped. This bike has many floorboards, if you can see them down there. So it's those slightly forward mids, not as far out, I think, as my Fat Bob was, but it's a little cramped. And I would hate the idea of having mid controls on this bike. Faux show. I really, I've been kind of trying to put my feet up on the engine guard, but it's kind of hard to do on this thing. biltong. I got to get me some biltong to take home. So what I was saying, oh yeah, so it is a little the stock bars here, it's not that bad. Certainly not as bad as the stock bars on the Road Glide, for sure. I mean, it's you know, they're comfortable. Put a little input into it fairly easily enough. Drop the bike over. Speaking of which, so let's talk about handling to have fun. And this is where I say it's really not a bike that really excites me. Compared to the Fat Bob and the Lowrider Special, there is no comparison. Go ahead, dude. I mean, at all. There were times that I was going through the mountains and I just really, really wish that I either had the Fat Bob or I had a lowrider. It would have been so much more fun than riding this. This is not, I know sport is in the name. This, close your ears, owners. I don't find much sporty about this bike other than the design. And I think a lot of that comes down to the difference in the rake that you have on the Fat Bob and the Lowrider S. That Lowrider S is just absolutely a joy. If you get rid of the mids, I don't like the Lowrider S as it's set up. I would put slightly mid forwards on it like the Fat Bob has. And obviously bars, but yeah, those two bikes are just a lot of fun. This is kind of a get you there bike. So the bags, okay. If you've listened to the podcast and heard me talking about these bags every time we talk about Softails and stuff, I told you I don't like the clamshell design. It's not efficient. It's just not a good design. You need top-loading bags. I mean, if you're seriously going to be touring a lot, you need top-loading bags. Even if you're just running around like here, these bags have been the biggest pain in the ass to deal with. I mean, I thought just the clamshell design was bad, but my experience with these, as I've been, oh, look at that, isn't that beautiful? The sewage truck would get out of my way. My experience with these bags, getting my camera gear in and out, has just been bad. I went on a trip that was a possible overnighter, so I threw some toiletries in and underwear and shirt. Then I had my bag of gear, all my charging stuff, and then my camera bag. It wasn't a whole lot, but it was really tough to get, not just to get the stuff in, but these bags are cheap. I mean, when I open them up, even to take a camera out, I've got to lift the lid up in order to get it closed. I'll try to maybe do a little video here before I drop the bike off to show you, but they're just, yeah, they don't do it. In fact, my colleague I'm rooming with here, when I got the bike, he was really excited to see the Harley, and when he looked at the bags and he was like, touched them, he said, man, does Harley make these bags? Because these are cheap. I'm like, yeah, bro, they are. All right, let me just stop here until we get some scenery instead of being behind this sewage truck. Okay, I got around that sewage truck. So as I was saying, the bags are a no-go. If I, for some reason, bought a Sport Glide, I would dump those bags. I would rather have Leather Pros on, to be honest with you. The only advantage I think these have over Leather Pros is you can lock them, but truth be told, these bags, I don't think it would take much to get into them, to be totally truthful. Materials just aren't great. So that's the big knock that I have on the bike. The bags suck, absolute pieces of shit. Engine is a little underpowered, and then of course you don't have that, comparing to a Lowrider S or a Fat Bob, you don't have that front end design to where you really have that sporty feel to the bike. So there you go. I'm really happy that I had this bike. I've enjoyed the bike other than the bags. That's the, again, frustrating thing. Everything else has been, you can deal with it, or it's been a good solid bike. It really has, for the riding. It really has. Now, let's go to those two questions that I was talking about, I don't know, a few days ago, whenever I dropped that initial video when I picked up the bike. First off, do I think that I made a mistake? There's Betty's Bay. Okay, we're still going to the penguins. Did I make a mistake by not giving the Sport Glide a look when I bought the Fat Bob? Knowing that, you know, I ended up really through the Fat Bob finding out that I enjoyed touring and riding distances and stuff. No, I did not. I did not make a mistake. This bike cannot hold a candle to the Fat Bob. Just cannot. If you look at performance, if you look at fun, the only advantage that the Sport Glide has over the Fat Bob are those bags. And because those bags are pieces of shit, that advantage doesn't count. So I'm really, everybody nods here. People don't do the biker wave. You nod, give that tip of the head. So I did not make a mistake. Now, did Harley make a mistake not using this Sport Glide as the platform for the Sport Tour and building that sport touring bike off the Lowrider S? 100%, absolutely, unequivocally, they did not make a mistake. It would have taken a substantial amount of redesign to get this Sport Glide up to the level of the Lowrider S and everything that brings to the Sport Tour. Hands down. There's absolutely no question. Did they make a mistake in killing the bike? No, I don't think they did. I really don't think they did. I mean, when you look at the lineup, if you want a softail, touring softail, you've got the Heritage. You can't beat that. That is, I mean, you want to crush miles and be comfortable, that's where it's at. If you want to tour and be sporty, that Sport Tour, it's not this. It's absolutely not the Sport Glide. Why are you waving that flag at me, lady? I don't know. Why is he waving the flag? It is not the Sport Glide. Like I said, you would have to do way too much work to redesign this. Lowrider S, absolutely the right choice. You can have a lot of fun on that bike. It's, you know, you've got that awesome rake that it shares with the Fat Bob. You've got, you know, a really good suspension. It's just a lot of fun. You got a 114. Actually, the Lowrider S LRS ST, I think, has a 117 stock, so it's even better. But when you look at the Softail lineup, there's just no place for the Sport Glide. It's not as good as the Heritage for touring, and it can't hold a candle to the Lowrider S for sport touring. So, yeah, why would you keep this bike? Other than if you like the styling. And let's be honest, the Sport Glide is really in no man's land. It really is. So I would have made the same decision. Absolutely. And I know that's probably going to piss some people off that have sport glides, but there's nothing wrong with your bike. If you enjoy your bike, if you love the sport glide, hey man, it is a great bike. It will get you there. You can have, a little bit of fun on it. It's pretty comfortable. Not as comfortable as the Heritage, but there's nothing wrong at all with your sport glide. It just doesn't need to exist anymore. Not in the lineup. But anyway, so there you go. That's my experience. Those are my opinions. You can agree with them or you can disagree with them. I don't really care. All I'm telling you is that's my feeling on the sport glide after riding it for the first time for about 5 days around South Africa, in the mountains, on the coast, in the city, in the plains. I mean, turn left in 600 meters. All those different conditions, that's my experience. I'm going to go see the penguins. I'm getting close. I'm only 3 kilometers away. Shoot some video there and take a few photos. Till next time, guys. Peace. Don't hate me. Don't hate me. Don't be leaving a bunch of nasty comments down in the comment section of this video. I don't need that. I'm going to go see penguins. Baboons can be dangerous. Yeah, those baboons are no shit, bro. They are no shit. Welcome to Betty's Bay. Here's the welcoming committee to Betty's Bay. All right, I'm out of here.